When Super Smash Bros. Melee was announced, in the first trailer of the game, there was a brand new character showing off. A future mainstay of the series would be announced. Of course, it's Peach. Now, many aspects of Peach's moves are calling references to the Mario series, because obviously Peach is a mainstay Mario rep in the cast at this point. Peach using many attacks from the Mario games like the tennis racket from Mario Tennis, turn-ups from Mario 2. A lot of them are also made just for Smash, like the Peach Bomber, her side special. She's normally a floaty and lightweight character in almost every iteration of Peach, and she even has a mechanic that's unique to her. And wow, if you think about it, they gave Peach a unique mechanic all the way back in Melee. Now, the unique mechanic I'm talking about is her float. She is the only character in the game to have it. And if you hold down jump, you will get access to Peach's best tool in her kit. It is integral in every iteration of the character. It buffs her recovery, the move lasts for multiple seconds, and it buffs her combo game as she can do aerials out of it, which is when you do float canceled aerials. And if you combine this with Peach's already really decent moveset in her kit, she is a very technical character in Smash. Now in Melee, this iteration of Peach is not like any other version in this video, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned for that. And make sure to subscribe too if you want more videos like this. Now Peach's evolution is really interesting, as her archetype changes significantly while still having a very similar moveset. It's interesting. Peach in Melee is probably the tankiest version of the character due to her slower mobility in this game and having some quick options out of shield or for escaping out of pressure. I seriously feel like this version of Peach is one of the most defensive characters in Melee. She's able to pressure characters really fast with her down smash, which we'll mention later. Her jab is a strong attack for starting combos for Peach. Forward tilt is a kick that juggles opponents in the air at low percentages. You can even kill at 120%. Up tilt is a move that's going to be changed in future Smash games, but it's a reference to the head bash from Mario games. It does have a possibility for follow-ups, although it's more niche compared to the other tilts. Down tilt can actually meteor smash, and if you actually hit with her forearm, it can meteor under 150%. It can be difficult to KO with because it has small hitboxes, but it's a great tilt. Dash attack is also a very good move. Oh my goodness, dash attack is so good. It catches a lot of people off guard because it's a potential chain grabbing tool and it leads into itself. It is that good. That's why Peaches use this move so often in this game. It just sets up into so many things. But even things like neutral air, which is a spinning attack that is surprisingly strong for how weird this move kind of just looks like it would be a weak attack. It's actually really strong. It's one of her fastest options in the air. And Ness also has a very similar animation in this game, which is kind of weird because Ness's Nair in 64 didn't resemble this at all, but this is something I want to tell you guys. It's a strong juggling tool and it's also a possible mix-up option. Forward air can KO, although it does have a lot of lag to it. Down air is a nice defensive tool for landing because it's easy for being a combo starter. You can use its late hitboxes to lead into Nair or forward air. Back air is also really good depending on the way the opponent DIs, and you can edgeguard with it. Peach's forward smash is based off of RNG. It will be a completely random attack in this game. It can be either a golf club that can KO at around 130 to 200%. The frying pan sends directly upward and can KO around 120, and the tennis racket is by far the weakest. You can sort of use it as an edge guarding tool because of the angle it sends the opponent. Up smash is a strong smash attack at its sweet spot. It's really hard to hit this sweet spot, but it's capable of KOing at 110%. Although the sour spot hitboxes can combo into aerial attacks and maybe her dash attack. Don't get me wrong, there's actually a lot of potential going on for Peach in this game. I mean, she has the silliest down smash in the game. You can't talk about Melee Peach without talking about this move. It hits 5 times and it does a lot of damage. A total of 12% per hit. At the end, if you get stuck in every single hit, which I hope you're DIing if you're hit by this move, it can deal 70%. This move is sort of the identity of the character in this game because, a lot of lower level people like to spam it, but there is a lot more to Peach than just, using this move over and over again. You do get punished if you try to spam it, but it is incredibly rewarding if you catch a fast faller rolling. Her grab has average amounts of range, but once Peach gets in, she has an incredible ability to chain grab in this game, which truly does benefit her grab game in general. She has one of the better grab games in Melee, as she can chain grab with up throw more specifically as it leads into itself, and this works well against fast falling characters like the Spaceys. Down throw can also be a setup tool and it can lead into itself, or you can do an aerial follow-up out of it. Her forward throw is also a possible KO throw. I mean, those are kind of rare in Melee and it's actually very strong. It's one of the strongest forward throws in the game. Back throw can even set up into edge guards. Her special moves do vary in quality. Neutral special I actually made a video on this move. You guys should check it out. It is very bad. It does become better in future Smash games. The counter duration is actually much shorter than you probably think it is. Actually, you can use this to sort of extend Peach's recovery in the air, but again, I would only use that in niche scenarios. It's very risky to use. And then there's also Peach Bomber, which is terrible. In this game, it doesn't provide that much recovery utility, and it also doesn't even do that much on hit. But fun fact, there is technically a smash attack version of this move that no one really knows about because they are almost exactly the same. Their differences are really minor in this game, but if you hold down these smash attack inputs, you will get a stronger version that does more knockback. I still think this move is really bad though. Up Special is a recovery tool that descends slowly, but you can force the Parasol to fast fall, and it is even possible to put the Parasol back up and Peach will fast fall after that. This is an insane recovery mix-up tool, and especially if you're trying to return back on stage with Peach, as the Parasol itself is a possible follow-up tool where people use it as a combo tool in niche scenarios. It is kind of niche, I'm not gonna lie. However, unlike future iterations of this move, it's not really a KO tool, but again, save that for later. Down Special is Vegetable or Turnip. It is essentially her best edge guarding tool in her kit. Each turnip has a different probability of what you're going to get, whether it's an item or a turnip with a wink, more specifically, dot eyes. The wink is slightly better than the common ones, while the dot eyes get a little bit stronger, and then obviously there's the stitch face, which is the strongest one. It does 30% in melee, which is actually crazy, as this is the strongest version of stitch face. But to be real, most of these turnips are going to act pretty much the same from each other, and she also has a rare chance of pulling items, and she can either pull out Mr. Saturn or the bomb or even a beam sword in this game. These rare moments can actually give Peach a potential KO option because the beam sword is really strong when thrown. Obviously the bomb too and Mr. Saturn can be used for follow-ups. It's an extra layer of salt to Peach as a character, as yes, I've won matches by throwing a beam sword at people, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hype. And yeah, I do secondary Peach in this game. Fun fact, you would get banned if you actually use Peach in Smash 4 online, because in 4 Glory mode, the game didn't understand how items were just part of Peach's moveset, so they actually had to patch that out. Also, Peach's most broken move is her taunt, because you know, that's kind of annoying, I'm sure. Her windscreen is the best windscreen in Melee, and no one else can tell me otherwise. She does have a slew of advanced techniques like float canceling aerials and Z-dropping turnips, being things all the way back in Melee, and many are going to change viability wise, or they'll be in future Smash games as well. But overall, the archetype of the character is Peach in Melee is a little bit more slower paced. Her combos that she has in future games are not really fleshed out in this iteration. She has an amazing recovery because of her float. Peach's up special, side special, and her air dodge are very strong tools for escaping out of pressure and landing on stage, and she has many options when it comes to recovering, which is actually a big deal in Melee because not a lot of characters have good recoveries. It's usually make or break if you have a bad recovery or if you have a good recovery on a character's viability. Her down smash straight up destroys a lot of the lower tiered characters because they struggle at approaching. This move just is really hard hitting. Peach's meta success in Melee was seen early on, and many people actually all the way back in the early 2000s saw the potential in Peach's representation and truly began to shine. Although people barely knew how to wave dash at this point, but Peach's strengths were immediately seen. Where the tournament representation began to rise, she was seen as a strong defensive character in Melee's more aggressive rushdown meta. While she does have a clear weakness like being floaty and being also relatively lightweight, which is consistent with almost every iteration of Peach, can struggle to stay alive in certain matchups despite having an incredible recovery. She can also die vertically at times very early than people expect, and she does have lopsided matchups against characters above her like Jigglypuff, as she can struggle to chase them down. She has much superior aerial drift than her, and she can take advantage of Peach's low speed. While this matchup is pretty bad, there has actually been some interesting strides in trying to make it more bearable for people, as it was previously seen as an unwinnable matchup as like early as 5 years ago. And it was proven possible thanks to Peach's strengths in zoning with turnips and even doing so much float canceled nair stuff. Many people actually think Peach is impossible to solo main, which I actually don't agree with that, but there is some people with that opinion. She is a great secondary as well, as You know, even myself, I do secondary Peach in this game. But this mainly has to do with Melee's more tippy top end of the meta where it gets really competitive. But I personally think it is possible for her to be solo mained and do very well with the character. Many people have shown this. And it's going to be a grind to really get the kill in bad matchups. So I think her meta is looking better than ever, but it's because people are really pushing these matchups and showing that it is possible to beat characters like Jigglypuff, for example. As decades, people thought it was just unwinnable, but it shows how bad it used to be up until recently. Fun fact, Peach is actually in her own tier in the PAL version, and she's actually not even that much different from the original iteration of the character. It's mainly because Sheik, Fox, and Falco are slightly nerfed, and it's actually buffed Peach just a little bit as it made her punish game just a tad bit better in those matchups. You know, characters like Fox more specifically are known for having punish games that can possibly just beat Peach at times. But again, it's not an impossible matchup for Peach as she obviously has, you know, down smash spam baby, but I'm kidding. And also she can edge guard the spacies rather effectively because of turnips. Peach in Melee is a very solid version of the character, by far the tankiest iteration of Peach despite her overall mobility not being the best and her wave dashing and dash dancing being some of the worst in the game. It doesn't stop her from having a niche in the meta, which is why Peach in Melee has been seen as high as 4th place early on and had some consistent placements even at 6th, and then she currently was seen at the bottom of A tier at 7th place. And I think with enough work she can actually win majors, but obviously if you want to use Peach as a pocket character, she's just as good at doing that too. The Brawl iteration is a big step forward, even visually for the character, representing Peach's more modern appearance in Mario Party and Mario Sunshine, and having updated animation like heart effects on her moves, her new running animation, and updated taunts. This version of Peach is considered to be one of the more underrated characters in the meta, having a very technical ceiling for the character, but she is still a major step down compared to the Melee iteration in a lot of people's opinions. This is sort of when Peach's archetype starts to change a lot more compared to Melee, as she was definitely nerfed in this game. She's not as tanky and defensive, and this is when the beginning of her niche in the meta, her airspeed was hit with the nerf hammer really hard, which is going to limit her air game, and her double jump was drastically lowered. No longer having access to double jump canceling and float canceling, which are some things that existed in Melee. Her air dodge was given considerably more lag. Only 15 frames of its 30 frames are safe. It's a terrible air dodge. Dash attack was toned down with a shorter duration, but it does have a rare chance of tripping. Down smash was one of her most well-known tools in Melee, but now only dealing 4 hits instead of 5 hits, with more frames of end lag, of course. Many people think Peach got nerfed the hardest moveset-wise in Brawl. This was just the loss of Melee's down smash. Sure, the move has larger hitboxes, but it also lost one of its hits, which was the loss of Melee's down smash. Sure, it gained larger hitboxes during the transition, but the lower amounts of total hits actually made this tool a lot worse, and it made its damage go down by a lot more. It has more startup lag on each hit, so it's really easy to escape out of, and they tone down things like forward throw, making it weaker and not as good of a KO tool. Up throw lost its chain grabbing ability. Hit stun canceling was toned down, her combo abilities are relatively poor. She has one of the best horizontal recoveries, yes, and this was actually because of float, and it's also been buffed because of side B being a lot better in this game as a recovery tool especially. But because Peach having access to turn up, she can actually glide toss and use items in the air, and it makes her actually have one of the strongest approaching options with turn up. She moves faster in this game, having aerials that have decreased lag, and her air acceleration is higher, and this means she has more aerial mobility while floating, with nair, back air, forward air, and having more range and instantly auto canceling. Down air has a new final hit, although it won't be much better in this game. It's actually better in Smash 4 and Ultimate. Side special goes much more further, and it can actually semi-spike, which is a huge buff to this move, and it can be B reverse. It has less startup, it deals more knockback. Up special travels more distance, and it can sort of KO with it off the top. This is kind of like the beginning of the Smash 4 iteration in a way. You definitely want to stay tuned for that. Brawl's meta quickly developed, and many people began to see the positives of Peach's ability to camp, especially with turnips, and even the possibility with float invincibility at ledge actually gave it a lot more niche in Brawl's meta later on. It gave her invincibility at ledge as Peach was able to sponge through hits, and it gave her an interesting way of countering characters like Meta Knight. Some people think she could be a top 10 character easily. It just would take a lot of time to push the character character to that level, as she has mostly been seen to a mid to high tier character. Although I'm going to rank the Brawl iteration probably the lowest iteration later on, just know it's still a good version of Peach. That's how consistent she's sort of going to remain at this point. It would take a lot of time for Peach mains in the meta to develop her success. It is a major step back from the Melee iteration. Brawl Peach does show that you can be a slightly nerfed character and still build your own niche in a completely different meta. Now, if the Brawl version continued changing some of the aspects of Peach from Melee and decided to push forward with the Brawl style of Peach, that would be Smash 4. The Smash 4 iteration of Peach is basically the Brawl version, but a step forward, as the character is leaning more into a combo-centric moveset, and this is where you start to notice drastic changes in Peach's previous iterations. Compared to the Brawl Peach's mobility, it's definitely been improved further, making her move away from the tanky Melee playstyle even more. Her grounded tools like her smash attacks are much faster, having an improved Peach Bomber by significantly decreasing its startup by more than 10 frames, which is a lot. And they also made its distance go even further, which is, yeah, just crazy how much buffs this move got. Toad has much less startup and less end lag, and the spores deal more damage and are larger. Her dash attack was improved and has more knockback. Her tilts have more follow-up potential. More importantly, up tilt has better launch angles. Forward tilt has improved KO potential, and she even has a brand new up air. That's a much safer tool, and this is actually a massive buff, as well, yes, this move is laggier, it does have larger hitboxes and a longer duration. It made this a much better juggling option than the previous up air in Brawl, where the move can even juggle characters who are grounded. Like I said, this was a massive improvement to her combo capabilities. Nair, back air, and down air all have less end lag. Down air and forward air have longer durations, and they can still kill. Her grab game was improved, having less laggy dash and standing grab. Her forward, up, and back throws are stronger, and down throw has more combo potential. You can't do chain grabs with it anymore, unfortunately. Her up special also has much larger hitboxes than it was a possible KO tool. Although she did get nerfed, as her moves are a lot more laggy. Her mobility, yes, it is better in this game. All of her aerials are actually slower. Back air no longer links easily into the clean to late hits, and while up air has better range, it has slightly more startup lag. Down special was pretty alright, but it did get a lot of nerfs, making it have less end lag and it loses its ability to edge cancel. All the advanced techs with turnips were pretty much removed. Stitches are weaker in this game, and Peach also is less likely to pull rare items, and also rest in peace the beam sword, it's not coming back. And they also removed glide tossing, which was going to tone her down significantly from her Brawl neutral. The rage mechanic was actually a slight nerf to Peach's survivability, but it also means she could also take advantage of it as well because of her really good up special. The hitboxes were so much larger, and it is an easy kill option for the character. It could KO at really suspiciously early percents because of rage, and it was just that cheesy. And I'm not gonna lie, Smash 4's weakening of DI made it harder to escape out of Peach's combos, so this indirectly buffs many moves like up air and down smash. Peach is just a solid character in this game. She is relatively stronger in this iteration, having more KO power, and it was harder to combo, although the mechanics began to work in Peach's favor and she became a strong character despite the nerfs. Peach's changes in the updates for Smash 4 were mostly minimal, as they did try to change aspects of the shield stun in Smash 4, which indirectly made her moves a lot safer on shield, and this also buffed her aerials out of float, making forward air and nair better at spacing. These are also easier for Peach to break shields down with these moves. She also had well-known infinite combos with her up air. As I stated earlier, this move was really good at comboing. They did give it less range in the updates, and nair has longer hitboxes, Toad's counter lasts longer, and the duration has less startup lag. Overall, Peach is seen as a solid mid to high tier character in Smash 4. She could be really good in the right hands, and she began at 19th place while lowering down to 26th and settling down to 21st and finally 20th place. In the final Smash 4 tier list, she did have a relatively scarce results at certain points. While other people think she reached her ceiling in a way, other people thought she could actually do better. Now, Peach returned in Ultimate, no duh, maintaining a very similar archetype and moveset wise from the previous Smash game, especially Smash 4. Her viability was changed for the better. She became the best iteration of Peach by far, and this is a massive improvement for the character. Now, Peach received a new down tilt, which was a fast combo starter, and it became one of her bread and butter combo tools. And this is mainly the removal of grounded meteor smashes and teching. Forward smash now cycles between each weapon depending on the angle the move is held, and this actually buffs the utility of this move because it was previously reliant on RNG. Yay, as a Peach main you get to choose which move you want to use in forward smash, whether it's the tennis racket, frying pan, or golf club. And Toad also has an updated animation and a faster counterattack. Although I did kind of make fun of this move, does actually have the possibility of KOing. I wouldn't say it's the best counter in the game though. It does deal more damage and it's faster, so yay, thank God Peach doesn't have that really terrible move like it was in the past. Peach Bomber got buffed again and is leagues better as the older iterations, even stronger, and it's the fastest in the air, buffing its utility. Vegetables deal more damage and knockback, and they even are faster to pull and pluck and throw. And Peach's mobility is leagues better on top of this, especially compared to the Melee iteration. It almost feels like a completely different character. And a little bit more of the under the hood change. Peach can actually bypass the 0.85 damage multiplier on aerial attacks when she actually short hops with float. So Peach can actually do the float canceling aerials, and it means her attacks can be slightly more powerful when float canceled. And this also benefits her in ways like being able to attack low to the ground with the aerials, shield pressure, as all of her float canceling moves transferred over really well to this engine. The only real nerf was because of Smash 4's rage mechanic being toned down, which does actually benefit her survivability in a weird way as it makes her less easy to kill, but this does make her up special KO confirm a lot harder to do. And also she has a directional air dodge, which is also one of the slowest ones in the game. Her dash attack and back throw have reduced knockback, and forward throw is also a lot weaker, and forward air has sour spot hitboxes. But overall, Peach is a more combo-centric character in this meta, and it was immediately realized that she was just better in this game. Lo and behold, Daisy was introduced as a Echo Fighter, who was pretty much exactly the same from Peach, except for a couple small changes that were later found out to be bugs that were eventually patched out. So there's technically two versions of the character running around. Yeah, dear God, make it stop. I know, right? No. While both of these characters are pretty much the same, Daisy does have a blue Toad, which is not any different from the original iteration, but you know, it is kind of neat. They were both nerfed in Smash Ultimate's lifespan, nerfing back throw, forward air, and giving them less knockback. Peach Bomber has more end lag, and Vegetable gained more end lag. Neutral B no longer stalls in the air after the first use of it. Did do certain things like Peach's up special connecting better against opponents and grabbing ledges easier, and jab connects more effectively, and forward smashes golf sling deals more knockback. Despite these changes, Peach and Daisy are incredible characters in Smash Ultimate's meta. And fun fact, early on, Daisy had one minor difference from Peach, and it was the knockback on her turnip values, which were slightly different, where Daisy was better at comboing at higher percentages with her turnips, and this actually seemed like an oversight as it was later changed to be a one-to-one copy of Peach's turnips, which are better at comboing at lower percentages and killing at higher percentages. Despite this, Daisy does have updated animations and taunts that make her better than Peach, and also because they're cooler. But don't get me wrong, Peach matchup-wise in Smash Ultimate is actually really strong. Actually the best combo game in the current meta, and this is because of the speedier moveset, and it's also reflected in her results for the character, as this is seen as the very best iteration of the character early on in Ultimate's meta, as both Peach and Daisy were considered top-tier characters. But it was really the rise of later DLC characters and Sonic, Cloud, Game & Watch beginning to sort of push Peach down in the meta. It's mostly that Peach's worst matchups in Ultimate and Sonic and Game & Watch are a lot stronger at ledge trapping, and they are also better at beating her recovery tools, and Sonic can just sort of camp Peach out and run away from her moves and make it difficult for her to sort of get in. Different styles of float like ground floats, head floats, and fastfall floats, and also jump cancel fastfalls, which is you cancel her momentum with float and then use it as a combo tool or to shield pressure, and this opens up her kit in this game. So if you're a Peach main, you definitely want to look out for these things because they're seriously going to open up her kit. Nowadays, they're both considered top tier characters as they're both ranked right next to each other, and obviously they are pretty much the same exact character. They did drop to 9th place during the following tier list. Now the worst version of the character is actually not too bad. Many people think it's an underrated character character as some people think, as Peach could potentially go up in the meta over time. It was really just how close these iterations of the character. They're at least a solid, viable character most of the time. The only flaws of the Brawl version of Peach is it's a slightly nerfed version of Melee Peach, as her air dodge has 30 frames of lag and only 15 of them have invincibility. This is easily the worst air dodge in the game, and many people state that Peach has trouble KOing in this version, and she also has the normal Peach flaws like being lightweight and floaty. Also, the sort of beginning of Peach becoming a more combo-centric character, I feel like the Brawl iteration didn't really flesh out the later aspects of the character, especially in Smash 4 and Ultimate, that made her really good. But she does have some of the by far best recovery options in the game, and they did manage to improve certain things about the character while taking things away. Even though some people might think she's underrated, I actually think she's not bad either. And that's why I'm going to say this is a close tie between the Smash 4 and Brawl version. I think Smash 4 had slightly more viability, at least in the higher placements in the meta. Still, I think Smash 4 Peach was even underrated. This iteration of the character is when she became more combo-centric, and also she was known for having mobility buffs, and obviously the more important KO buffs because of rage and, up special being a lot better. For example, moves like forward air being a stronger finisher in this game, and Peach also has well-known 0 to death combos, even in Smash 4 with her up air, as many people feel like the Smash 4 iteration was definitely just as underrated as the Brawl version. Melee Peach is the second best iteration of the character. I think it's mainly because of the cheese factor working in Peach's favor in this game, as she definitely is a tanky character, like her frame 3 nair, float combos that are strong. This is the only iteration of Peach with double jump canceling. A lot of her turnip combos started all the way back in Melee too. Also, her ability to chain grab, her down smash made her really annoying to deal with. It's probably one of her most spammable attacks in her entire kit. And while Melee Peach had some ups and downs of people speculating that the character couldn't be solo mained at top level, I actually think more recently that's been proven wrong, as she definitely can be solo mained. Like a giant wall that's just really hard to play against. If you try to get around it, she can down smash you, okay? It's kind of funny. The ultimate version of Peach is the true combo-centric version of being fully realized. Because of her flow, it allows her to use her strengths and also shield pressure and combo, but now having a bit more damage and KO potential to her kit. The buffs to down air and down tilt also benefited her combo game. Forward air is slightly nerfed, yes, but it's still a strong aerial for her kit. Peach Bomber was a lot safer and has less startup. Respectfully, Peach has the best damage and KO potential in a lot of people's opinions. What puts her above the previous iterations is the peak amounts of mobility and combo game that exists in Ultimate. While she's still lightweight and not as mobile compared to some of the other top tiers like Sonic, or even as combo-centric as maybe Game & Watch, she's still a lot better in this game. Alright you guys, that is the video. Thank you for watching. There is a Patreon down below if you guys want to support the channel. Hopefully you guys are doing well.